All right, I think we're live. Let me get a sip of water here and let this fill up. This one's a little earlier than most of them I've been doing. What I've found so far is that when I announce them ahead of time, it doesn't seem to impact the number of people who just trickle in, anyways. Although I think tomorrow I'll announce it. But this one, I'm done with all my other work. I'm just going to do another client vlog later, and I'm pretty well done working for the day. Clients are caught up, other than looking at new footage people are going to send me. Because again, Wednesday's a big training day for a lot of my people. So thought I'd hop in and start doing this, let it fill up. But I want to remind people to join my Instagram below, join my membership in my channel, join the Orc Army, and remember to use my Amazon uh, affiliate links, right? Use my Amazon affiliate links. Also, a quick reminder, because this is going to be seen by a lot of people after the fact. These get thousands of views after. And I put up a status, guys. I've been nice about this in the past, but I'm going to quit being nice. I've told people repeatedly I'm trying to focus on positive things. I don't watch negative videos about me, and I haven't watched YouTube Fitness in about 3 years. If you tell me that someone made a negative video about me, I'm going to ban you because you're disturbing my peace. I can't focus on positive things and helping people and winning meets and coaching if I'm worried about the existence of those things. I don't actually want to know that they exist. So if you tell me you're doing something I've asked you not to do, and you're breaking one of my rules by telling me that so and so made a video about me, unless it's an amazingly positive video where they said I'm the greatest coach on the face of the earth in a non-trolling manner, then I don't want to know about it. Right? If they said one negative thing in there, I don't want to know, and I will block you. I may even fire you if you're one of my clients. I'll tell you you can keep paying me, but I'm not going to coach you anymore. Actually, I would probably expect you to pay me as restitution for telling me about it. You're disturbing my peace. So let's get over to questions and things as the channel's filling up. What do you use as everyday carry? Guys, this is not a gun channel. However, I carry Glock 19. Glock 19. Sometimes I carry a Glock 21, but my Glock 19 is a little more convenient and it's really easy to drop extra mags in. I usually carry Glock 19 Gen 4 with 3 extra mags. I use 147 grain Federal HST is what I carry in. What is the best course of action for someone whose leg development lacks behind upper body due to half-assing their first couple of years? Example, squat 260 times 6 and bench 230 by 6, overhead press 150 by 6. Yeah, you're lagging. But here's the thing. People get this idea that if they just reduce their upper body training that their legs are going to grow more. No, you just need to keep training your lower body consistently, right? You have to keep training your lower body consistently, and it will get closer and closer. But it doesn't mean that you necessarily need to do less upper body work because you don't want your bench and stuff to regress. Just make sure that you make your squatting and stuff a priority. Hey, Jason, how much do you weigh right now? My weight is way up still post meet because I haven't really gone into a true deficit much and I've been sodium loading. I'm just now easing back into a deficit, but I am sodium and potassium and water loading still. So I'm still at the 220 that I blew up to after the weigh in. I mean, I was 198 for meet weigh in, which you guys can see is official. I have official weigh in up. It's up there, certified by a national level judge. So I was 198 at meet time less than 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to drop down to 200. The goal is going to be to cut down to where I can get to about 200, and then I'm going to lean bulk 200 to 210 back and forth. But right now, I'm still holding some of that boof from the massive carb loading. And even though I dropped my carbs back down, I've kept sodium and water super high because I want to stay hydrated. But it will start trickling down over the next couple of weeks. I should hopefully be back to 210 within the next 2 to 3 weeks. You said in today's vlog that you're still stronger at close grip. Will you switch to close grip the closer you get to a meet? No, I am always stronger at close grip, but it's because I neglected wider grip benching because it was always uncomfortable. I need to just keep wide grip benching and get my pecs bigger. Okay. And if it turns out later the tricep work I'm doing keeps my closed grip stronger, I can mess with some closed grip, but I need to focus on the wider grip. My instincts and ego want me to close grip. As a coach, I know I need to be doing wider grip. Just biomechanically, from a muscle development perspective, everything else is what I need to be doing. And so I'm trying to remind myself to not think like me, not use my ego, and to think like a coach. What would I do if someone was hiring me in my situation? I'd make them do wide grip. So that's what I'm doing. Do you allow novices to cheat during pin lay rows or only strict? Honestly, it depends. I could really not care that much, to be honest, at this point. I have a lot of my guys not even pin lay row. The only lifters I have who really pin lay row are novices or people who are doing the lower volume deadlifting anyways. Right? And because if you're doing high volume deadlifting, you don't want to be doing standing rows. You want to be doing some sort of chest supported row. You want to be doing pull-ups, inverted rows, stuff like that. So, it really, it's not something I spend a lot of time thinking about. I would like them to be strict, but asking people to be strict and getting them to actually do it are two different things. This is something you'll learn if you start coaching. You can tell people to do something all you want, and they may just fuck off and do their own thing and just say, I'm going to do it this way and just keep paying you. Welcome to being a coach. Is a 23 to 24 fat-free mass index a good goal to shoot for natural genetic limit? I mean, it's a good goal, but remember, you don't have a limit. It's just a massive diminished returns. And keeping in mind, to get from 24 to 25 might take you an extra 15 years, right? But you will still keep making gains. I know guys who are close to 25 drug-free that's taken them over 20 years to get there at a lower body fat. But you're also, I'm assuming you mean at 10% body fat or lower. Higher than that, it's those things are completely different. Hey, coach, what is the purpose of a ramp up sets on 5-3-1? All right, the whole purpose of ramp ups. Well, one thing that I'm doing, you notice on my peak sets now, I'm going down to singles. But generally, the idea is that they count as work sets and they prepare you for the heavier work. They get your nervous system into its groove. Now, the latter, I think, can be done with singles. And I kind of prefer that. And it's the direction you see me going. Okay. But then those singles, this shouldn't count as work sets either. They don't count towards your total volume. Those ramp up sets in 5-3-1 are legitimate work sets. One of my orc warriors asked, Coach, I'm going from a 40 to a 60-hour work week, soon planning to run 5-3-1 days. How can I do some extra upper body work on my squat and deadlift day? Well, do you necessarily need it? Do some pull-ups. Do some dumbbell rows, right? That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. If you're going to do a 3-day a week. Like, what did you see me do this week? I came in and did pull-ups on my squat day. That's simple. If our overhead press is 150 pounds less than our bench, would it make sense to start doing more overhead press in effort to increase the bench? Not necessarily. Where's your weak link in your bench? You want to increase your bench, do more benching, do more pause benching, and train whatever your weakest muscle is out of the 3 primary movers. Not necessarily your delts. And I can't tell you what your weak link is without a consultation. Like, I need to see video footage of all this stuff, and I usually charge for that. Now, if you want to hire me for a consultation, I'll do one and tell you what your weak link is. Or you could just assume what it is yourself, train it, and just do more benching. Again, inside of your recoverable volume. Total weight pulled pull-up standard for a big back guaranteed. I don't think there is. Total weight pulled. I don't know that exists, but I'm going to say that if you can do 15 pull-ups and you can squat more than 400 pounds, you're probably going to have a pretty good back because you're going to weigh a lot to have the squat. Hey, Jason, digging the live streams. I've been thinking of buying weightlifting shoes recently. What's your thoughts on them? Note, I'm training in a public gym and can't go barefoot. Thanks in advance, boss. Are you Olympic squatting? If you're not doing Olympic squats, narrow stance, Don't buy weightlifting shoes. They could potentially mess you up and even hurt your knees on a power squat. Notice when I was doing higher bar squats with a narrower stance, I was using weightlifting shoes. And when I went back to wide stance squats, did you notice I went to flats? Okay, there's your answer. Type of squat are you doing? Hi, Jason. Any tips on minimizing saturated fat intake when bulking with calories over 3,500? Can't seem to keep it under 20 grams a day. Don't want to put health. Well, it also means what type of saturated fat are you eating? Is it dairy saturated fat or is it red meat saturated fat? There's a difference as far as how they impact any cardiovascular risk. And it's also contextual to the rest of your diet. Now, if you're hitting it from dairy fat, I wouldn't worry because the overall meta-analysis and studies show that dairy fat is slightly negatively correlated with cardiovascular disease. Okay. So that's probably why it's high, because you're doing dairy, which is perfectly fine. Again, and we're not talking about eating a bunch of refined butter. Butter is a highly refined fat. If you're getting it from milk or cheese or yogurt, I wouldn't worry about it. Cheese and yogurt have been negatively correlated with cardiovascular risk in meta-analysis. I prefer working out 4 times a week and do a light day and a heavy day. That's not a question. How rare is it to deadlift 600 and 700 pounds naturally? Absurdly rare. Less than 1% of people who powerlift drug tested, and let's not even talk about natural, let's talk about drug tested because that doesn't mean drug free. Less than 1% of competitors in drug tested competition will ever touch a 600-pound deadlift. Over 50% of steroid using powerlifters will never touch 60%, in my experience. So how common do you think it is? Now, have guys pulled 700 drug free? Yes, they're genetic freaks. This might be a personal question, but what would be your advice for someone looking to better themselves career-wise like you did, working a corporate job like you used to, and I don't enjoy it? I don't know what to tell you because it took me a very, very, very long time to build up my online business. It's something that took me years to do. My advice is if you want to do something like that, keep working your day job and build it up slowly. Hey, Jason, what do you think of the dumbbell pullover? You think it has any practical use? It's an okay exercise. I just don't know that it brings enough to the table to waste a training slot. Not a bad movement. Do you think there should be a limit on total sets in a workout, even if most of them are accessory lifts? Yes, obviously. How many of your clients are doing overhead pressing these days? I don't have time to sit here and count for you. I would say approximately half, give or take 5 people. Ballpark. Would I lose muscle if I ate 1 gram per kilogram of protein on maintenance calories per day? Why would you go that low? If we know that that's kind of the lowest end of the threshold, and it is, why would you do that to yourself? Like, why create that environment to where you're running the risk? It's not necessary. Unless you're planning on being a vegan, in which case I need to block you because you're part of an evil cult. As a general rule of thumb, if I can't do 10 pull-ups, do you need to cut? Is it a strength issue or are you too fat? Like, could you do that before you bulked? If you could do 12 pull-ups before you bulked and now you can't do 10, yes, it's time to cut. I'm weak off the chest. Is that a specific muscle group or technique, generally speaking? It's going to depend on what your technique looks like. And what do you mean by weak off the chest? I want you to explain to me, because you're going to re-ask this, specifically what do you mean by weak off the chest? Because what a lot of people think weak off the chest means is not what weak off the chest means. Like, how many inches from your chest does the bar stick? If it's 1 inch, you're weak off the chest. Okay, if you get the bar 4 or 5 inches up and it sticks, you're not weak off the chest. And if you're truly weak off the chest, it's probably delts and lats. Hello, I'm a beginner and I want to use the Ice Cream Novice 2.0 program, but my question is, if I train on Monday, I'm most likely still sore on Wednesdays. What do I have to do? You train anyways. You'll stop getting sore eventually. And if you're getting sore, then your diet and your sleep need fixes, because the program shouldn't make you sore after about 2 weeks. But you don't not train just because you're sore. Like that's ridiculous. Like, who told you that? Whoever told you that, I want you to smack them in the mouth. On the 5-3-1 plus days, how many reps do you look for before increasing weight, and do you add 5 to 10 pounds? I base it on a percentage, more roughly percentage. I would like to see a minimum of 3 extra reps on all of them before I increase training maxes for any of my lifters. In other words, if they can't do 8, 6, and 4 at the bare minimum, I want to keep their training max exactly where it is. Now they start hitting 10, 8, and 5, we definitely need to raise that training max. Should I feel good doing 200 kilos for 9 reps on deadlifts? Yeah, that's not bad. Thoughts on cable pull-throughs? They're an okay accessory movement. I like to have people do them with bands if they don't have access to certain equipment. I've used them quite a bit for people who don't have a reverse hyper, and we need to build that that lower back work capacity early on. But I have them do them for really high reps. Well, I have done a 605 naturally, and I feel I can go further with time. I'm 27, wondering if I could have a future in powerlifting, also same weight class as you. If you're pulling 605 drug free now, yeah, you're gifted at the deadlift. Your genetics are above average. Keep going. Do you think an RDL is a viable substitute for conventional deadlift for a totally untrained novice if they struggle with lower back rounding and hamstring flexibility? Is it a substitute? No. Can it be used until you fix those problems? Yes. But I want to be very clear. The Romanian deadlift will not put as much size and strength on you as a conventional deadlift will. It will not. Can it be used to help correct those issues while you're working on it? Absolutely. Have I done that with clients? Yes. My client, Nick, that's what we did. His vlogs, you guys see him doing conventional. We had to start with some RDL. Have you tried strongman event training, farmers walks, yokes, and atlas stones? No. I mean, farmers walks, yes, but I don't need strongman training because I'm not competing in strongman. I just do general GPP. Occasionally that includes loaded carries. Only took your training advice, by the way, reached a 55 kilo weighted pull-up, 155 total weight for 1 rep, 200 kg squat, 260 kg deadlift, 140 kg bench, 95 kg over press. Thank you very much. There you go, brother. You're doing it right. What do you think of the Arnold press and replacement for the barbell overhead press? It's a garbage trash exercise. It's a silly fluff movement. I don't think it brings anything to the table. Hey, Jason, I've recently started jiu-jitsu and want to find the optimal way to combine it with weightlifting. Is there a program you would recommend for that and certain supplemental exercises? No, any good strength-based program. 5-3-1, Conjugate, even what you see me doing with Lork mode, they all work for what you're doing. Okay. You just need to get stronger in the weight room. Put a little bit more focus on grip type stuff and some fat bar work. What's your opinion on deep weighted push-ups for hypertrophy as a supplemental exercise? They're fine. Hi, Jason. What's your preferred optic on the AR? Be more specific. You talking in close? I like for my home defense ARs. I have 2 of them right now with aim points, co-witnessed with iron sights. Right. I actually really like an A2 front post co-witnessed with aim point. If I want to hit further out, I like ACOGs. I asked the pull-up question earlier. I have a ridiculous ape index, 6 foot tall. Still novice lifter, probably just a mix of poor leverages and strength. Okay. How much should someone expect their bench to increase cutting from 185 to 165 on 5-3-1? 20-pound weight loss, your bench may go down. Why are you cutting to 165? You better be really short. Because, I mean, I can see you cutting down to 185 if you need to cut. Cutting to 165, you better be basically a midget. Why are you doing this to yourself? Do you not want to get big and strong? Why are you on my channel if you don't want to get big and strong? It's the wrong place for you. If I want to test my maxes, should I do it over 3 days or do a mock meet and test them all in one day? Why do you want to test your maxes? I can't answer your question unless I know why you want to test them. I don't think you should max. Honestly, my real opinion, unless you're on a platform, and there's a medal on the line. I don't think you should max out if you're only going to get second place at a meet for it. I'm just going to be honest. I think the only reason to max out is to win a gold medal or to break a record. Outside of that, I don't know why you want to do it, a true max. And you don't have to max out in training to PR and comp. Hi, coach. I'm 6'5". I can't grow my biceps. What do you recommend? Of course, you can grow your biceps. You just need to train them, and don't overtrain them. You need to eat more. You need to probably do chin-ups and maybe some barbell curls. And make sure that you're eating enough to gain weight, because your biceps aren't going to grow on a massive frame like yours unless you're bulking. Tips on body dysmorphia and being scared to bulk. I'm 6'3", 16, 76 kilos, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, quit worrying about it. Stop looking at bodybuilding stuff. Your muscle dysmorphia will go away if you quit looking at bodybuilding sites. That's what created it. Stop looking at that shit and it will disappear on its own. Quit reinforcing it. If you're scared to bulk, well, you're scared to gain muscle? You mean you don't want to gain muscle? Let's just be honest. Let's be honest. You deep down do not want to gain muscle. You don't want to gain muscle. Because if you did, you would bulk and you would ignore the body dysmorphia if you actually wanted to gain muscle. So just be honest with yourself and say, I want to be skinny and weak. I don't actually want to gain muscle. I want to pretend I want to gain muscle and go on the internet and cry about it. Because if you actually wanted it, you would eat more. Period. I don't like excuses from people. As a coach, I don't accept those sort of excuses. I'm scared. Well, this is what I tell guys like Paul and my other lifters. Well, stop being a fucking pussy. Then you won't be scared anymore. This is an easy solution. Either you want to gain muscle or you don't. Don't make excuses. I'm scared of bulk. Well, quit being a fucking pussy. There you go. Problem solved. Can't imagine lifting that weight. I'm 77 kilos, probably going to cut to 80 kilograms, though. My numbers definitely won't be the same. There's a lot of stuff in here that are not questions. Do you like deadlift bars, 27 millimeters? Yes, I own 2 deadlift bars. I have the Texas deadlift bar and I have the Ohio deadlift bar. I prefer the Texas one, but yeah, I like the 27 millimeter for pulling. My sumo and conventional maxes are identical, 545. What's wrong with me? Nothing. Just balanced. Emma has the same deadlift. She pulls 315 on both now, right? Is there something wrong with her? Of course not. If I shouldn't ever max in the gym, how do I find my training maxes for 531? You test an easy training max. You grab a weight and you go, that was heavy enough that a third rep would be really, really hard. There you go. There's your training max. Is there a difference between the sled push and sled drag for GPP? I think pulling is easier on recovery. Hi, Jason. Your thoughts on people who say you can get strong just by doing isometrics? People believe a single weight doesn't need to be lifted. My thoughts are that those people are ignorant. They're probably weak and they've never read any scientific literature and never coached anyone in their entire life. Just ignore them. They're clowns. Thanks. I think I'm going for conjugate. The max effort work seems satisfying. How many sets for reps should I go for supplemental work and accessory work? I don't have a set answer for that, brother. It's going to depend on your work capacity and recovery. I asked the bench cutting question on 531. I'm cutting because my BMI is 27.3. Maybe I'll just cut to 170, a BMI of 25.1. So I guess you're shorter. In that case, that's fine. Go to 170, but you're going to need to gain weight to gain muscle and get stronger. But keep in mind, when you're cutting, don't expect your bench to go up. Maybe if you're lucky as a novice, it might. If you're a more advanced lifter and you cut 15 pounds of body weight, don't be surprised if your bench goes down a little bit. Like, that's just part of the game. Deal with it. Right? You can't serve two masters. Ken Singh, thank you for the donation. How do you determine how much time you should back off a lift? Weeks, months, a year? What do you mean? You're going to need to re-ask that. How much time? You don't necessarily need to back off a lift. I need more context to answer your question. I want to gain muscle, but I'm scared of fat gain. How do I not care about the fat gain? Been watching. Okay. Quit looking at bodybuilding pages and you'll quit caring about a little fat gain. Watch Isaac's vlog. Look at his channel and his before and afters. He's gained fat, but he's also the biggest and strongest he's ever been. He's going to cut it off later. Come back to the point. Either you want to gain muscle or you don't. Jason, your view on YouTube prankster Vitality being arrested for domestic violence. I don't know who that is. If he was arrested for domestic violence and he hit his girlfriend, he's probably not a very good person. I don't know because I don't know who he is and I don't know the full story. So I don't want to make assumptions about someone without seeing the evidence, right? I don't want to get involved in rumor mills. Just because someone got arrested doesn't mean they're guilty. We don't know the full story. And quite frankly, I don't care. But yeah, if the guy legitimately abused his girlfriend or something, then he's probably not a very good person. Let's come back over to that point. Real men don't hit women, right? Do you offer a program review besides coaching? No, I do not. Do you still like the behind the neck press? No, I think the risk isn't worth it. And I don't think it brings anything special to the table. What do you say people who think lifting weights at a young age can stunt your growth? Has been scientifically proven that it does, in fact, stunt? No, it's not been proven at all. If anything, it can increase your height potential. Those people, again, we come back over to it, are clowns who are saying stuff without evidence. What are the benefits of the deadlift bar? I use as a regular Olympic barbell, fine for deadlift long term. Because the deadlift bar is what you're going to use in competition, and you need to get used to it if you're going to compete. The advantage is it's easier to grip. Deadlift bars are thinner, so therefore the thicker the bar is, the harder it is to grip. They're thinner, so it's easier to grip. They have very, very aggressive knurl. They're easy to grip. They have a little bit more whip once you get real heavy. Like at 400 pounds, you're not going to see a difference in the whip. 550, 600, you will. I'm not stronger on a deadlift bar. I lift the same weight with a stiff bar. But it is easier to grip. But it is also harder on your hands because they will slice your hands up. A good deadlift bar is going to be tough on your hands. Mine bleed pretty often. About every third workout, I end up tearing skin. Are intermittent fasting and getting bigger and stronger incompatible? Not necessarily. Depends on what your appetite's like. If the intermittent fasting makes you not be able to eat in a surplus, then yeah. But if you're a heavy overeater, intermittent fasting might be a useful tool for controlling it. JV, one of my clients, asked, how do you become an Orc Warrior? You click on the join button underneath every video, and there's 3 different tiers of payment depending on what you want to pay. Right? Like Benny Watts right here. He's one of my Orc Warriors. All right, these are getting buried. Why do people act like 30 is old? I'm 33. I don't feel old at all. I don't feel any different than when I was in my 20s. Yeah, 30 is not that bad. I'm 45. I can tell you I do feel a difference. And I will tell you training is different in your 40s. It is not like in your 20s, guys. This is why a lot of us older lifters who are still strong, we kind of laughed at younger guys and some of the stuff is like, you're not going to get away with the same stuff at our age. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to get away with flexible dieting and eating Pop-Tarts and shit and recover from training at my age. You're not going to get away with overtraining and still recover. Right? You're going to start hurting real bad all the time. So there's definitely a difference. I'd say at 40, the game changes. At 30, it really doesn't. Do you think a deload is necessary every 4th week of 5-3-1? No, and Wendler says it isn't either. Coach, when should a late novice move to an intermediate program? Is it when progress slows or when overuse becomes a concern? When your linear progression completely stalls and it's not other factors causing it. Like you're still in a calorie surplus, you're getting 8 hours of sleep, all that, and it stalls, it's time to go over to intermediate. Hey, dear Jason, is it good to do a max good morning and a max squat same day? I wouldn't do that unless you're on a minimum of 1 gram of gear a week. And even then, you better watch it. Should you include quad isolation volume in your program as dominant with posterior chain work? You can't isolate muscles, Chuck. I say this every podcast. You cannot isolate muscles. It can't be done. That is a goofy, weird, made-up bodybuilder word. And bodybuilders are usually fucking stupid and don't know science. Okay. There is no such thing as isolation. You can't do it. Now, if you mean single joint movements like a leg extension, that would be the scientific term. No, I don't think that they're that helpful. Right? If you want more quads, do more exercises that involve quads, single leg exercises, belt squats, leg press, sled drags, right? Do some sled dragging. That'll bring your quads up if you're in a posterior chain dominant program. Hey, Jason, started 531 today. Would you recommend using the exact prescribed warm-up percentages? To me, it felt like too many warm-up sets, too light of a weight. They're not warm-ups, they're work sets. When you understand that that's the way the system is done, then it makes sense, right? Those are not warm-up sets. They are work sets. The way I'm doing them now are warm-up sets. Yes, you should follow it as prescribed. I tend to take the Alan Roberts approach to dieting, only having dessert a few days out of the year. Thoughts? My last dessert was at Christmas. Jason, do you think David Goggins' routine is excessive? I'm going to state what many coaches have said about some of these former Navy SEALs putting out training advice. Former Navy SEALs are probably the worst people on the face of the earth to get training advice from. Okay. Most of them don't know how to train. Most of them come from a different mindset of beating themselves into the ground. And once they're retired, the government doesn't care if they're broken. You're going to have to live with your body the rest of your life. Okay, Uncle Sam doesn't care if a Navy SEAL is broken and falling apart at 35. They can chunk him in the dumpster. They're done with him. He's expendable. They don't give a fuck. You're going to have to live with that body that you destroy trying to do his shit the rest of your life, just like he does. But they, you know what? Uncle Sam doesn't care because they're not going to pay your medical bills and shoulder replacement surgeries either, are they? But you're going to have to pay it yourself. So maybe you shouldn't do the silly shit that Navy SEALs do. Now, Navy SEALs could probably really teach you how to kill people really effectively. They could probably teach you how to build an insurgency really, really effectively. I wouldn't take training advice from them. And most coaches will tell you the same thing. The training is not good. But again, it doesn't have to be. Their goal is to make them unstoppable for a short period of time until they break, and then they can throw them in the dumpster when they've outlived their usefulness. That's how we treat the military. So keep that in mind with their training. Do you think Conor McGregor could be 170, 10% body fat for his maybe his net? I don't know. I need to look at his stats. All right. Thoughts on sled pushes versus sled drags? I think sled drags are easier to recover from. I prefer dragging if it's an option. Coach, your general guidelines for programming while switching to a cut is reduce volume, but try to keep the weight on the bar the same. Is that still your stance? Any other things to keep in mind? Yeah, and you only need to reduce volume if recovery becomes an issue. Jason, how do you feel about putting animals on PEDs, especially in the case of animals using things such as military, law enforcement, and civilians having done on dogs, just looking too intimidating? I don't see a problem with that. All of our athletes are on PEDs. Half our military is on PEDs. What's the big deal? What are some important cues for the high bar squat? Example, deadlift, you push your ass back, pull slack. I find the correct form on squats confusing as to where to break first hip. You break at them concurrently, right? You break at the knees and the hips concurrently. The thing to focus on the high bar is going to be keeping your chest up, right? Keeping your back in extension. I'm into 7 months of lifting. Should I hop on Ice Cream Fitness 1.0 or 2.0? Depends on what your recovery and lifestyle is like. If your lifestyle is optimal, 1.0. If your lifestyle is not optimal, 2.0. It's who it was written for. How can I do sled drags in the do-it-yourself in garage gym? A sled costs about $100, Lazio. My sled ran me $100. That includes the harness. Just buy one off Amazon and you drag it outside. One of my Arc Warriors, if the science-based lifting community is current, how do guys get strong and big without knowing F all about the studies? Just hard work alone is enough. Trial and error, right? Trial and error. And, largely most of the evidence these days, what tends to happen right now, it kind of coincides with what people figured out more or less worked anyways. All it's doing is fine tuning it a little bit. People figured out through trial and error decades ago kind of what worked for getting big and strong, right? Like this worked and this didn't work. Hey, these guys got stronger than these guys. We should switch to what they're doing. It's not as exact as a lab study, but, it can get you the answers. And that's more or less how they did it. Like people already had a pretty good idea 20 years ago how to get big and strong. And, just enough guys comparing notes with each other and coaches comparing notes and lifters talking. Any reason to switch between a regular bench and a fat pad? You have the option of both. I notice I can bench a good amount more with the fat pad. Doesn't matter if you can bench more with a fat pad. Why would it matter? It's not going to carry over to competition or any sort of sanctioned lift to where you're going to be compared to other people. So if you can bench 5,000 pounds with a fat pad, but only 300 with a normal pad, your bench is 300. Why bother with the fat pad? Any tips on training during Ramadan? Just try to hold on to the muscle you have. Stay hydrated. Electrolytes are your friend. Lots of fluids and electrolytes. You have to stay hydrated. So sodium, potassium, magnesium, and lots of water during that window to where you can drink, because dehydration is what you're fighting the most. The fasting part of the food is not the problem. It's that fluid loss that you're dealing with. You have to stay hydrated, and don't expect to make gains during that time, man. Like just try to hold on to what you have. Advice for someone thinking about using anabolic, some resources to start learning. I don't know what the current best resources are. I learned most of my stuff before the current environment. What did you think about the ending of Game of Thrones and Attack on Titan? I've never seen Attack on Titan. I'm happy with the ending of Game of Thrones, other than Bran being the king. That didn't make any sense. It should have been Jon Snow. Hey, Jason, how come we aren't seeing good mornings from you and your clients as much as before? Does it not bring much more to the table if you're doing a GHR? Because good mornings generally is what I pair with box squats, and my non-conjugate people aren't doing box squats. But I do have people doing good mornings. I don't know why you don't think some of them don't do good mornings. Plenty of them do. But I have people who have access to other stuff, and we're doing normal back squats, so I don't use them as often. But it depends on the lifter. Is the Vince Mahoney workout realistic? I have no idea. How many elite athletes has he coached? How many world record holders has he coached? I don't know who this guy is. Jason, your thoughts on people who believe yoga is absolutely crucial for flexibility and all-around fitness? Yoga is fucking stupid. Do you advocate mini cuts for powerlifters? Example, 1,000-calorie deficit. Or do you think they're too aggressive to retain strength? I don't know what you mean by mini cut. But I think 1,000-calorie deficit is probably a bit big. If you need to cut, go ahead and cut, but do it right. If I gym while I am sore, I can lift less, so is efficient. I am a beginner. Get on a good program and you won't get sore. If you're still getting sore, your sleep and diet aren't on point, or you're not on a good program. Yes, you can still train when sore. Right? Still train when sore. Wendler has fixed a set of assistance moving in the 531 Forever book. Have you had a look at them? And if so, do you think they're all I need to get strong? Yeah, they're reasonable. I've read it. I've held that book up on screen. I have that book. Matt Vina, record-holding powerlifter, says you hit your prime at 35 when it comes to brute strength. Thoughts? If you started training at a young age, then yes. But if you started later, not necessarily. Right? And the reason people peak out, they've run into problems after 40, is because they're too beat up because of bad programming, overuse, right? Poor fatigue management. They didn't play the long game. I'm still up here at 45 getting stronger again, going for records in my class, right? Because I pay attention to these things. And he is right. 99% of powerlifters jack themselves up with bad training. They get strong real quick and they burn out. It doesn't have to be that way. What is better for fat loss? Long drawn out cardio. Okay. What's better for fat loss? Cardio is not that useful for fat loss. That's what all the research says. You know what's useful for fat loss? controlling your calorie intake. That's the most important thing. In fact, you shouldn't increase your cardio on a cut. You might have to even decrease it. You increase it when you're bulking to build work capacity. Adding extra cardio when you cut lowers NEAT, and it may not help speed up your cut at all. That's not what you should be focusing on. Your diet's the important thing. I find dips to be a better tricep builder than chest builder. Could be because I don't go lower than parallel, but going deeper is harder on my shoulders. It just depends on how you're built. Will time travel become available in 2030? I don't know that time travel will ever become available. I don't know if the laws of physics allow for it. Brian, I don't know if I have a top 30 programs. If as far as cookie cutter programs, 531, Conjugate. Sorry, I keep burping here, guys, because I finished all my food for the day. The Cube, they're all good. Your views on German volume training, but by itself, like if you mean just doing 10 sets of 10, it's garbage. I don't believe we should do sets across. I don't program sets across for any of my clients. You don't see me doing sets across other than ranked novices. So because German volume training is sets across and not concurrent training, I'm not going to support it. Thoughts on going heavy on stiff leg deadlifts? Saw Dan Green stiff leg deadlift 615 for 6 on a deficit. Looked insane. I don't know that I have thoughts on it. On your ice cream fitness program, how many reps should I leave in the tank? You should follow the program as written. As someone who is 182 pounds and 6'5", you think a 4-plate? I think at your height and weight, you need to gain weight. Let's not even look at what your lifts are, because let's be honest, you're a toothpick. You really think you're going to get strong at your body weight at that height? Size equals strength potential. So you don't plan on getting bigger. You think you're going to put, I want you to really think about that. You think you're going to put over 100 pounds on your deadlift and over 70 pounds on your bench without getting bigger? And do you think you're going to get bigger at 182? You think you're going to recomposition because Greg douchebag told you you can main gain and lied to you? Do you really believe that? I want you to seriously ask yourself that question. You're not going to get stronger at 182 pounds. You're 6'5". You need to be bulking to 200 at the bare minimum as a novice, and then you need to go up. You're not going to be anywhere near your strength potential at your height at less than 240 pounds, period. You're going to have to get bigger, and that means the scale's going to have to go up. Hi, coach. Can I rotate between flat bench, incline bench, overhead plus? Oh, my God. All this stuff. Sure, if you're going to do conjugate, that's why. Okay, sure, you could rotate through those 4. You should also do some floor press. Be a good idea. All right, you go on at least 6 different presses, and that's for a novice. If you get more advanced, you need 12. Hi, Jason. What programs should be used for women's powerlifting? The same programs that work for men. I don't coach my women different than my men, and I have elite lifters in both. Hey, Jason, I was going to the gym until once at overhead press, I heard a pop in my shoulder, and it hurt for weeks, but I feel just a little scared when I'm using this hand now. What's your advice? Don't overhead press anymore. Do you think WWE wrestlers are elite athletes? I don't know. I actually don't know because I don't know what they do. I don't actually know what they do. I know that they wrestle, and I know that they lift weights. I don't actually follow it, so I'm not really familiar with what they do. So I couldn't tell you. Hey, coach, my right knee just pops every time I squat. There isn't any pain, but a very clear pop sound is heard every time I squat. Any idea why this is happening? It's nitrogen bubbles in your knee. It's fine. If there's no lingering pain, I wouldn't worry about it. You said in your info that 2015 to 2018 was its worst. Does this mean I should ignore those videos on training advice? Yes, particularly if it conflicts with anything I've said in the last 2 years. The only elite athletes are in real sports. They pay the most money. Yeah, probably true. Is conjugate method good for gaining longevity in the iron game if you do it the way winning recommends it? Yes. If you do it Louis Simmons style, no, and Winning explains why in some of his lectures. He actually explains why the difference is that with Louis, his only goal is to get you to a world record. And if you get a world record and you literally snap your back the next week, it doesn't matter because you got a world record. Okay. That's his mindset. It's irrelevant. As long as you got a world record, there is no price too high. And that includes being in a wheelchair. So what? You got a world record. That's all that matters. Winning has taken the system and pushed it more towards longevity, and he explains the difference in detail. So be aware of those differences in philosophy. What's your opinion on unilateral angled squat wedges? What? I have no idea what in the fuck you were talking about. I have plenty of long femored squatters, and we don't do any weird such thing. Jason, what do you think about people who say only insecure dudes work out? No. Hey, Jason, do you like my channel icon? I can't really see it. Sorry, I can't tell you. It's really tiny on my screen. Do you have any people who inspire/mentor you? No, I am actually not like someone who's into hero worship. To me, everyone is just a person. Like, I don't look up to other people and think, hey, they're greater or better than others. That's just not my viewpoint. Like, I don't celebrity worship. I don't athlete worship. It's just not my mindset. I just don't see the world that way. But that being said, as far as coaching and stuff goes, yeah, there's plenty of older coaches who I find valuable as far as their knowledge and insight, and I respect their knowledge. My grandfather was a mentor to me. But as far as anyone who's just like a public figure out there, no, of course not. I don't understand that mindset. And some people are like, well, you inspire me and yeah, and that's okay if that's your mindset, but I don't understand how people think that way. It doesn't make sense to me. I've just never had that viewpoint on life and other people. They're just people, right? Some people just have more knowledge than others in certain areas. It can be useful to us. But at the end of the day, we're all just people. And I don't think one person has more worth than another, or that a person should be put on a pedestal, just because of an accomplishment. They can be helpful to us in giving us knowledge that they've acquired. And if they can, then hey, great, I appreciate that knowledge. What do you think is a reasonable rate to bulk to for 5'9", currently 80 kilos? I've been training for years, but not well, and I don't eat enough. It's not going to be a fixed number, brother. It's going to go up and down, because as you gain muscle, each bulk and cut should, in theory, go higher and higher and higher over the years. But I would say a minimum, 200 pounds, like 90 kilos is probably a minimum to really fill out your frame at 5'9". I know you don't watch other fitness YouTubers, but do you watch other strength coaches like Mark Ripto or Louis? Yeah, I pay attention to what other coaches are doing. But if they're not a coach, I don't watch them. Like, I have zero interest in knowing anything that Jeremy Ether has to say and so on and so forth. I just don't care. They're not coaches. Therefore, they're not worth listening to. Just being an influencer and being popular isn't a reason to listen to someone. If they're not coaches, they don't have any knowledge, right? They don't. And most of them don't have any knowledge. They really don't. I don't know how they manage to get people to listen to their bullshit. But yeah, other coaches, I pay attention to what they're doing. I read their stuff. I'll occasionally listen to lectures or something that's been done by these people, podcasts. Coach, how do you explain Chuck Vogel? Okay. How do we explain a genetic freak who is a statistic outlier? They're a genetic freak and a statistic outlier. It's that simple. Don't try to follow in their footsteps. I've noticed a lot of lifters that were popular a few years ago sort of disappeared, such as Jeremy Hamilton, Brandon Lillibridges. You think they disappear because of injuries and health? The Lillibridges are on my friends list on Facebook. They haven't disappeared for me. I see them all the time. You're not seeing them out there big on social media, but they're still on Facebooks and stuff, and they still interact with the community, right? So I've got the Lillibridges on my actual friends list on Facebook. They're there. I don't know why you think they're not there. They're still lifting. They're still coaching. They're just not out there doing what a lot of us are doing and making a bunch of videos and stuff. So maybe in the public eye, you're not seeing them as much, but they're still there and they're still doing their thing. Do you recommend specific core training if you squat, deadlift heavy regularly? I have a feeling like I may emphasize lower back strength, these lifts more, and core training may bring these lifts up. I like hanging leg raises. I like hanging leg raises, but even weighted crunches are good. Weighted planks, any of that. But I am very partial to hanging leg raises for core training for those movements, particularly for improving your squat. And Dave Tate says the same. Actually, I've heard Dave Tate say that the hanging leg raise is, in his opinion, the best squat accessory there is. Do you think Joker sets are a good idea at the end of 5-3-1, like Windler says, if you're feeling good? I can't imagine the Joker sets really. My strength is predictable, and most of my athletes have predictable strength, so the Joker sets aren't going to work, right? They're not going to work. We're too consistent. If butt wink at the bottom of a squat isn't causing me pain or discomfort, is it really a problem? Nope. If your back doesn't hurt from it, then it is not a problem. Carry on. You have a very healthy mindset, Jason. People should only judge other people just by their character and nothing else, in my opinion. Right, fair enough. Jason, what's the fourth industrial revolution? I have no idea, man. Coach, the pop sound comes easy every single rep in my right knee. Can nitrogen bubbles in my right knee do that? Yeah. It doesn't hurt. It's fine. Do you think there will ever come a time when anabolics will no longer be considered a taboo and people will just admit it using openly? I think so eventually. Hey, Coach, I'm 5'5". I weigh 175 pounds. How much should I be squatting? I don't know. I think you should be get up to 500 pounds. I think you should work towards that. I have had a 5'6" lifter who's been in these calls. He drops into some of them, who has squatted 505, and I put video footage of him squatting 505 up weighing 175. He had a 440 when we started. It took us over 2 years to get there. So I think 500 pounds at your height and weight is a reasonable goal. And I think that should be everyone's reasonable goal. Every healthy young man should strive to get to a 500-pound squat and 20 pull-ups, right? And I know that sounds extreme, but that's why I'm like, it's a goal to strive towards. Do you recommend any other strength coaches besides yourself? And what are your thoughts on barbell logic and Renaissance? I don't want to get into any of my problems with some of these other people because I don't want to trash talk other coaches. There's good and bad with both of what they do. But I'm not trying to make more enemies these days, guys. I've made enough enemies in my life. I really don't want to make new enemies, particularly in the coaching world, by saying anything bad about maybe some things I don't like that they do. And I think that's fair of me to say. In basketball, core stability is important, but I see LeBron balancing on a boosie ball. Should dumbbell shoulder presses. What should he do instead? Heavy squats and deadlifts, which he doesn't based off his program. Yeah, heavy squats will help your stability. And even single leg exercises, right? Split squats. Jason, your thoughts on people who still to this day consider Ronnie Coleman to be the hardest worker in bodybuilding and lifting in general history? I suppose. I don't know. I don't really care about bodybuilding, to be honest. So I don't really know what people say in their weird ass cult. Thoughts on Max Adia and Chad Wesley Smith as strength coaches? See, this one I can answer. I think Chad Wesley Smith is probably one of the top 10 strength coaches in the world. He's in the top 10. With sumo deadlifts, if I can't break the floor when it gets heavy without rounding the lower back, is it indicative of leg weakness? No, it means you got weak glutes. Hey, Jason, you brought me to Conjugate 6 months, and I want to thank you for that. Do you have tips on how to incorporate squats as accessory work without overdoing it? No, not without seeing your full program. Jason, did the ancient Greeks track tonnage with lifting, do you think? How about the Romans? Probably, I'm sure, because they were mathematicians. I'm sure they had a way. And keeping in mind, a lot of the philosophers from that time were very big on exercise and training. So I'm sure they did, but I don't know the specifics of it. Hey, coach, I'm between 5'11" and 6 foot, and I'm 164 pounds. Would you say I should put on some more weight? You need to put on a shitload of weight. You need to put on 40 pounds, son. Jason, knowing what you know now, if you could do it all over again, would you say natural instead of hashtag natural? I'm not going to answer that one. I'm a competitor. That's all you needed to know. My goal is to win. Hey, coach, what are some of your favorite foods to eat for the anti-inflammatory effects? Generally vegetables, right? Lots of vegetables. I do a lot of spinach and broccoli right now. If you follow my Instagram, you'll see a better idea of what I eat. Vegetables handle most of it. And when you're doing a lower carb, like I'm doing at the moment, the keto diets in general tend to reduce inflammation in studies, which seems counterintuitive with the saturated fat, but there's data showing why. Like there's actual explanations as to why it does it by the researchers who found that it lowers inflammatory markers. It's because your body burns saturated fat faster once it's fat adapted. But I'm going to say for the most part, omega-3 fats of any type, which, for me, I do a lot of fish oil, but I mean, a lot of nuts can help, but mainly vegetables. You mentioned at 6'5", around 240 pounds of solid weight. What weight should you suggest to someone who is 6 foot? You need to get up to at least 200 pounds. That's just to fill your frame out. Okay, keeping in mind, I'm 5'9", and at my water cut, if you guys look at Instagram, you see me an hour before I stepped on the scale for the meet, shirtless down at 198. Okay, and most of those pictures you guys can see, I pretty much have a six pack and veins running all over my thighs when I was still above 200 pounds doing the water cut, because I took pictures every 3 hours at the hotel room and put them up. So put that in context. I'm shorter than you. You need to get it to 200 just to fill out, even if you're at a higher body fat to cut down later. Jason, your thoughts on the belief that Bruce Lee was a real fighter? He never competed. Your thoughts? There's a lot of controversy about that. A lot of fighters say that Bruce Lee was not that great. He was a great actor and a great entertainer. But as far as competitive fighting by modern standards, he wouldn't be able to hold his own. That's just what people I know say. And I do know some high-level competitors in martial arts. I have a friend who coaches people at national level in multiple martial arts. And I've heard him say kind of the same thing. But it doesn't discredit, him as an actor or an entertainer, right? He was in a unique situation. He was at a unique time to where he filled a role really well, and he did it really well. And you can't take that away from him. The guy was a great entertainer. He was a great entertainer who brought something unique to the table. But as far as fighting ability compared to by modern competitive standards in MMA and stuff, no, he would not. Again, going off of what people I've heard who I trust their expertise, that he was not a good fighter by those standards. Compared to someone who doesn't train, yeah, he would destroy you. Is it possible to get to a 500-pound squat at 47? I ran the Ice Cream Fitness 5x5 and got up to 340 5 years ago. Justin, you've seen me squat over 500 at age 45 on camera. Have you not? I've done over 500-pound squats this year on camera at age 45, so it's totally possible. I know you don't like bodybuilding. What's your advice on Ben Pollock's lifting it? I thought Ben Pollock was a power lifter. Jason, is it advantageous to pause and really emphasize the stretch at the bottom of a good morning? I don't recommend you pause on good mornings unless you're doing them off pins. Get the stretch reflex. Fun fact, Chad Wesley Smith trains at the same BJJ academy as me. That's a cool bragging right. Yeah, I mean, and the guy's a good coach. I don't think you can deny that. I mean, the results speak for themselves. His strength, the strength of a lot of the athletes that he coaches speaks for itself. So you can't even argue that Chad Wesley Smith is not a very high level top coach. You just can't. You're going to sound stupid. You would sound stupid. It's like, oh, he coaches world record holders and has competed at the world level himself. I mean, if you argue that he's not a great coach, you're just a dumbass at that point. Jason, do you think historical European martial arts, HEMA, not LARPing, like armored combat, is good GPP? Yeah, it's definitely GPP. Running around in armor. Regarding Bulgarian split squats, is it better to use a 6-inch block or a bench? I remember you saying the original was done off a low block. Recently, you've seen clients do it off low bench. I let them do whatever they want. But yeah, the original Bulgarian split squat was done off of a block. Right, it was done off of a block. Tommy, appreciate the donation. Thank you, brother. Bruce Lee could apparently do 51 arm chin-ups in a row. Do you think this is possible? Well, the guy only weighed like a buck 20. So that's not that crazy of a feat. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's really good that he could do 50 if he could do it. I don't know if it really was possible, but at his body weight, it's not like a 1-arm pull-up is a lot of weight. You know, it's about the same as the guy my body weight doing a pull-up with 2 arms. Jason, just wanted to say congrats on your state records and overall performance at your meet. Thank you, appreciate it. I'm gonna break my own records again at the next meet. I didn't actually max out to break those. I was just going for my world qualifying total. As soon as I hit it by 2.5 kilos, I just left the platform and left pounds on the platform and didn't even finish lifting. So the records were incidental. I had to break the records to qualify for Worlds. But I do appreciate that. But yeah, those records were not maxes. They were not maxes. They were literally lifts I've done 4 or 5 reps with on camera. But next meet coming up, I've already got one scheduled this summer. I'll make it public later. I've already paid for the meet, bought hotels, booked hotel rooms, booked my flights. Everything's ready to go. I'll make it public so people can show up if they want to. But I'm going to break my own records again at that meet, and I'll probably won't max out to do that either. How can I become a client? Do you meal prep? I don't meal prep. No, I do strength coaching. I only do nutrition advisement as necessary for the client. Half of my clients, we've never discussed food at all. And it's not officially included in the coaching service. Just like drug use is not officially included in the service, but if a client is on gear and they need advice, I'll give them it. So it's the same with your food. I'll give you advice on your food, but it is not officially part of the service. Okay, my goal is to get you as strong as possible. And if that requires me to discuss food, then we discuss food. So that makes sense. It's programming and mindset mostly. You contact me on the Facebook page. It's linked underneath every video, including this one in the description. So yeah, that's all you have to do. Contact me and I'll get back with you. Tommy, is Wilton, thank you for the donation, real or not? You know him. Wilton was a real story. I don't know why people don't grasp that or think I made that up. And I know people have said, well, your details of the story don't match my knowledge. Well, I've never been in the military, so I don't know all that stuff. I went off memory. But the Wilton story is a real story that a family friend who I worked with told me, whose name was Wilton, who was in Vietnam. He was a real person, and I liked him as a person. Now, do I know for a fact that the story he told me was true when I was 18 years old? No, I don't know for a fact because I didn't witness it. But he did tell me the story. It was a real person. His name really was Wilton. That was his first name. His name was Wilton Barron. And I worked with him while working in hydrogen and natural gas. I spent time working out on a platform with him in the Gulf of Mexico. I did contracts with him working on natural gas compressors. But yeah, he was a real person. And he really told me that story. Do I know for a fact the story was true? No, I don't. I want to believe that Wilton wouldn't have lied to me because I thought he was a genuine good person. Right? So I don't know why people make a big deal about stuff like that. I really don't get it. All right. Is there a difference between hypertrophy emphasis between Bulgarian split squats and step ups? Arguably, maybe one has more glute versus adductor. Hey, Jason, big thank you. You've helped me a lot with your tough love and no BS advice. Unfortunately, I'm injured and out of the game a few months, but continue to learn from you. Just because you're injured doesn't mean you quit training. Train around your injuries, by the way. Hi, Jason. I've been kicked out of a lot of cookie cutter gyms due to the fact that I'm destroying their concrete. There's no powerlifting or Olympic gyms in my area. I've never deadlifted since for about 3 years now. Well, I don't know what to tell you there, brother. Jason, what actor is your favorite Joker? Definitely Heath Ledger. He played the best Joker ever. And he really, again, you guys know the backstory on what he did to prepare for the role. He really took the role seriously to the point where it did drive him insane. You know, the hell he got. Heath Ledger was a hell of an actor. Like he was a great actor. And I would argue, even though it may have cost him his life, that role itself was one of the best performances I think we've ever seen on the screen as far as an actor goes. Jason, if I were to do a 5x5 as an advanced lifter, how would I do it? Can I run it for 6 weeks, deload on the 7th week, then repeat? No, you shouldn't. You should not be running 5x5 as an advanced lifter. I know you did pause squats to build your squats back up a few years ago. Nowadays, you just recommend box squats instead. Actually, I mostly do back squats. Use whatever tools you need. Did you see the max squat event at the Arnold Strongman Classic? No, I did not. Is going to bed really late bad for sleep quality, even if I get enough hours of sleep? Like if I went to bed at 4 a.m. but get like 9 hours, maybe 4 a.m. could be a problem because it's going to mess with your circadian rhythms a little. It may not be optimal. You probably actually have to get extra sleep to make up for the quality. Fair enough, Jason. Can you give some guidelines for squats as accessory work in Conjugate, like having decompression accessories? Again, thanks for the help to all of us. There's the thing I tell people with Conjugate, and this is where I agree with Winning more and more. You have to have an equipment buy-in. You have to have an equipment buy-in. And so some of that's going to be, probably a belt squat or reverse hyper. Those are pretty high on the list because again, you talk about decompression stuff. Now, barring that, as far as different squat accessories, just whatever brings up your weak links, right? Whether you're using good mornings or leg presses or single leg exercises, do whatever you need to do to bring up your weak links. What was the Wilton story about? I don't want to re-get into it because it's not worth telling. It was a guy I knew when I was 18 years old who was in Vietnam told me that he killed his lieutenant for giving an order that was going to get everyone killed, that he threw a grenade in the latrine and killed him. Okay. And I told this story so many years ago, and I don't see why it's such a big deal that people need to harp on and on and on about it. When I had just repeated many years ago, and I don't even remember the context in which it came up in a video. I just repeated a story that an older person I knew who was in Vietnam told me. And, I had no reason to not believe him. The guy I liked Wilton, but he was kind of a hard ass. And so that kind of didn't surprise me that he said that he did that, just kind of based on who he was. Like he was the type of guy I'm surprised he didn't throw a grenade on me in the bathroom when he was pissed at me. I mean, to be perfectly fair, because I was an annoying 18-year-old kid myself. But, he kind of took me under his wing a little bit. Jason, why are all the girls in women's long jump and pole vault all beautiful? I don't know, man, because maybe just being athletic and strong improves overall beauty. I don't know. You got a point. They do tend to be, don't they? There's a lot of them are really attractive. Now that you mention it. At 5'7", 155 pounds, how fast should I be bulking? John, I'm going to have to ban you in spite of the fact that you gave a donation, because that's not cool. All right. What's your favorite accessory ab exercise? Hanging leg raises. Back to the other question about bulking. How fast should I be bulking? About 2 pounds a month for where you are is reasonable. You said there was multiple. Look, just go look at volume studies. Go to Google and type German volume training study and type in women's volume training studies, and you'll get everything you need. If you plan to prep for your next meet the same way you did this time in terms of gaining weight and having to cut as Vinio, no, I did a 1 year cut. I don't have time to cut for a year again. I'm not doing that. I don't plan on bulking that heavy ever again. I'm done doing that. I'm capping myself at 210. Okay, that's where I don't want to go back over other than post weigh-in, right? Other than post weigh-in. Is there any chance who fitness you want to collab? I don't want to collab with any fitness YouTubers. I'm not interested in YouTube fitness. I don't watch it. I have no interest in it. Therefore, I have no desire to collab with them. One of my Orc Warriors thoughts on how to improve rucking times without injury, wear, and tear. Well, is there a reason you're trying to improve times? Why are you trying to improve your times? I mean, I guess do it slowly. Do it slowly would be the only way to reduce wear and tear. Don't get overuse. But you need to also ask yourself the question, is there a reason you're trying to improve times? Is this something you plan on competing in? It's just GPP. It's just to get you in shape. Jason, your view on women who find powerlifters unattractive, women who typically believe powerlifters are just out of shape. I don't know these women. I'm unaware of the existence of said women. They're not in my circles. All right. A lot of these questions, guys, are just normal stuff that I discuss all the time. I don't think there's a set total for the number of total sets in an upper body session. I think that you need to cap your upper sets per muscle group. And I think that cap needs to be in the 10 to 15. I don't even know that we need to go higher than that for an entire week. I don't think that there's evidence other than Brad Schoenfeld studies, which other people have debunked, to suggest that doing more than even 15 sets for a muscle in a week works. Most of the data says you'll gain less muscle if you do it. So put that in context when you're figuring out your overall volumes. It's not about how many sets per session. Think in terms of muscle groups per session or even muscle groups per week. Yo, Jason, do you recommend Bulgarian style training for guys that were once in it? I don't recommend Bulgarian training at all. I've done it. I ran it for 7 months. I don't advocate that you do it. I'm a lot stronger now than when I did Bulgarian training, and I hurt less. So what does that tell you? Since the abdominal is one muscle, is it really impossible to target the lower region? Yes. What is the 531 program and how to approach this? Go to Google and type in 531 Windler. There's a whole set of articles. There's books. I have all the books. It's a whole system of training. One of the most popular strength training programs in the world. I'm actually surprised you've never heard of it because it's that popular. So just go to Google, type in 531 training or 531 Windler, and you'll find endless amounts of information. Yeah, I do around 12 for a muscle a week. That's probably pretty close to optimal. If you have a thin neck, not traps, but the neck itself, and you want a thicker neck, what do? More deadlifts, shrugs, neck extensions. So you ever going to make a basketball video? Is that like a code for something? Basketball video. Like, does this mean something I don't think it means? Like, you need to explain yourself because I don't play basketball. I'm not even a fan of basketball. So unless this is a code for something else, I don't know what this actually means, brother, or why you would ask that. Is it important to do specific transverse abdominal strengthening exercise like vacuums? It could be helpful, but I don't think it's that important or critical. There's been a recent craze for Nordic curls and sissy squats. Can't we stick to GHD and belt squats? I don't know why we can't, man. I don't get it. Ziller, one of my Orc Warriors, asked recommendations to have a very good rucking base before going to Special Forces section. Faster times correlate with increased selection rate, specifically on how competitive it is. Gotcha. Well, just get out and build it slowly. The main thing, like anything else, slow progressive overload, avoid overuse. Don't add too much too quickly. Is someone trying to recomp while eating enough to say at 20% body fat year round going to have worse gains than someone who bulks and cut in between the 15% body fat? If so, what? Yeah, they're going to have worse gains because they're not bulking and cutting, they're recomping. Recomping always produces slower gains than bulking and cutting. Why are you going to recomp at 20%? Usually the reason people recomp is because they want to stay lean. Like you're literally trying to use the worst method to gain muscle while staying fat. That's irrational. Yeah, you're going to gain less muscle because you're not ever bulking. You're at maintenance calories. By default, you're going to gain way less muscle, right? It takes so little time to cut the 10 pounds of fat off that you gain on a bulk that it's worth it in terms of the muscle growth because you're going to shave years off of gaining the muscle. Like the amount of muscle you can gain in a 1 year bulk is the amount of muscle it would take you 5 years to gain on a recomp. Literally. How fat quickly can you trim off 10 or 12 pounds of fat? A couple months, 3 months? Easily. So in 15 months, you can get 5 years worth of gains. Now you tell me which is better. 5-3-1, boring but big. If I do the top set plus 5 by 10, 50%, I'm fried. What can I do? I'm cutting by a 3-day template on press. I do bench and overhead press, 505 sets, but no top set on overhead press. Well, you're just fried. Maybe your calories are a little too low. You're cutting too quickly. Hi, Jason. Vinland Saga is a great story. It's Viking anime that is great motivation for lifting. I'm a grown man. I don't watch cartoons, brother. Sorry. Hello. I know you generally recommend pausing on bench press rep work. Should we pause on the squat rep work? No, squat's a different beast. Squat actually benefits from the stretch reflex. I think the basketball guy is a troll. Yeah, he probably is. How quick do gains come back after being injured for a fairly long amount of time? The only answer I can give you is quicker than you gained them the first time, but it's not like I can give you a mathematical formula, right? I can't give you a formula that says you're going to gain exactly 2.7 pounds of muscle per month back. Like it doesn't work like that. But they'll come back a lot quicker than your original gaining of the muscle. And the last one of these, I think I went into detail as far as the mechanisms of how muscle memory work based on the current science. Fun question. Would you say we are the second most aggressive primates behind chimps? Gorillas seem to be more calm creatures. Same goes for other types of apes. Chimps are considered most aggressive. Sorry, I got one of my clients is Skyping me. And it's blowing up my screen. All right. Let me see if I can get this back up. Telling him to stop. Because he knows that to not spam me all the time. One of my clients who I actually have to limit the number of messages he sends me a day because he'll send me 500. Normally, I used to have a rule for unlimited. You'd ask me unlimited questions. I had to tell him, you made me change my rule. You're allowed to ask me 10 questions a day, no more. Not 500. Because he'll type to me for hours and hours and hours if I let him. And I don't have time for that. He doesn't pay me enough for that. All right. Sorry, I'm ranting here. Yeah, Jay, chimps are the most aggressive primates. Humans are number 2. Chimps are insanely aggressive animals. Coach, do you think 5 sets of dips after boring the big is enough for triceps, or is it a single joint movement needed? Depends on the person. It depends on if you can do dips, and depends on how lagging your triceps are. If you can do dips without pain, then I think 5 sets of dips after boring but big should be fine for triceps for most people. Do you think doing targeted calf hypertrophy training can help improve my squat? Probably not. Does ab training help with hernia prevention as you're increasing the strength on the big compound lifts? Multi-joint, there is no compound. Remember that, multi-joint, single joint. I'm going to beat that into your guys' heads so you guys quit using the bodybuilder terms and you use the scientific terms. All right. No, hernias are genetic. Your training will not prevent hernias. If you are genetically prone to hernias, you are going to get a hernia in your life no matter what you do. It's unavoidable. Even if you don't lift, you're still going to get a hernia. You're going to get it mowing the lawn one day. You're going to get it when you're taking out the trash. If you're prone to hernias, you're going to get it under the barbell squat. So it's just a question of how do you want to get your hernia, while lifting or while taking out the trash. But if you're genetically prone to them, you're going to get one. Your training is not going to reduce the chance. I'm the one who said cutting. I'm slow cutting with not much deficit, 0.5 pounds a week or 1 pound tops. Maybe take longer breaks than on that, on the boring but big. Yeah, I'm not going to answer Russia or Ukraine questions. I've said that in every single live stream. I'm a grown ass man. I don't watch cartoons. This is why I love watching your videos. Exactly, brother. I don't get the anime thing. I really don't. If you're a kid, I get it, but if you're an adult, I don't understand the obsession with cartoons. Maybe it's my generation. Like guys my age don't watch cartoons. Maybe the next millennials do. I don't know any grown man my age who watches anime. I've never heard of it. Maybe it's just the circles I frequent. Do you have any opinion on isometric bench press as a secondary exercise, and when, if so, to use it? No, I don't see any point in it. Any new fitness studies that came out recently that change your viewpoint on this year? I wasn't trolling about the basketball question, just wondering. Yeah, studies on frequency. I've made videos discussing that actually, that I and a lot of us in the evidence-based world have to eat a humble pie on that. That it actually turns out the frequency doesn't matter for drug-free people. You can train a muscle once a week and still get maximum growth according to the research. We were wrong. Follow up to the 20% body fat recomp. Is that because of certain aspects of the metabolism being in a calorie surplus at a lower butt? No, it's because the calorie surplus itself is so massively anabolic, right? It's because the surplus is so anabolic that you cannot recomp even at a higher body fat and get the same gains. You just can't do it. Your question is almost like asking, can I make as much gains without steroids as I can while taking steroids? No, you won't. You'll never make it grow as much muscle recomping as you can in a calorie surplus. Just like you will never gain as much muscle natural as you could doing the same program with the same genetics on drugs. It's not going to happen. So if you want to gain muscle, put that in perspective. You're going to have to bulk. And I'm not saying it has to be an aggressive bulk. I'm talking for me about doing only 10-pound bulk and cuts back and forth. That is better than recomping. Our ab rollouts a good ab exercise. I don't think they're any better than the other stuff. I think they're inferior to leg raises, and I think they're hard on a lot of people's shoulders. So, take it or leave it. They're not bad. I think hanging leg raises are way better. My wife can do 5 pull-ups with a green band. Should we carry on going up to 10 reps or switch to a harder band and then rebuild up to 5 reps? No, you need to build up to 10. Jason, mad respect for giving young guys bulking advice without laughing and making fun of them, just like you can eat unlimited calories if you don't watch out what I eat. Yeah, exactly. And I do clown you guys a little bit. I give some of you guys a hard time, but some of you guys need some tough love. But, at the end of the day, I want to give good advice, and I'm used to coaching hard gainers. Funny enough, hard gainers are an enormous chunk of my coaching demographic. Robbie wants to start doing vlogs. He has his own channel. I'm going to start vlogging Robbie next week. Robbie was one of my hard gainers. He's put 40 pounds on. He couldn't eat enough to gain. He was like a toothpick. He's put 40 pounds on since I've been coaching him, and he can still do like 15 pull-ups, and he's not even remotely fat. He's probably 15% body fat after gaining 40 pounds. So, I'm used to dealing with hard gainers. I understand how to help those people. Even though I might laugh and say, hey, I don't get it personally because I could eat 5,000 calories of chicken and rice easily, right? But I understand that a lot of guys struggle with appetite problems because I coach those people. So we just go to solutions. Let's just fix the problem. Would you ever prescribe floor presses on fire if they want to do floor presses, basically follow the same principle as box squats? I prescribe floor presses. Depends on what the lifter needs. All right. It depends on what the lifter needs. This is the same Guy who asked about the boring but big while cutting. 3 to 4 minutes of rest should be fine. Thank you for answers. Yeah, 3 to 4 should be fine. Would you ever go on a podcast to discuss strength? Maybe, but I don't know that I need to. I have my own outreach. I discuss strength every day on my own channel. Like, what's someone else's podcast going to do for me unless they have 1 million viewers? Anime aren't like kids' cartoons, Jason. They're adult cartoons. They're cartoons, dude. Do you think the barbell guillotine press is safe to perform? No. Thoughts on drop sets for strength and hypertrophy? I'm not a fan. The Carter, one of my clients. Jason, what's your opinion on using the belt squat to do marches for GPP? I think with your personal hip inflammation, Carter, I don't think we should be doing that. But I think for some people, it's fine just for building work capacity in the hips. Again, I wouldn't do it often. It would be something you'd only do once a week if you're gonna work with that. Because again, potential overuse there in the hips. Hips can only handle so much. Do you ever go fishing, Jason? I used to fish a lot as a kid. I've not been fishing in many, many years. My grandpa used to take me fishing all the time, and he had some property at Lake Livingston with a pier and everything, and we used to go fish in the summers all the time. And I used to fish out in the country when I lived there too. So I like fishing, but I haven't fished in many, many years. I don't eat fish though, by the way. I don't like fish. Can't stand it. So whenever I fished, I either threw them back or gave it away. Hey, Jason, thank you for those form videos. Been watching them for a while now, and I can safely say I haven't suffered any unnecessary limiting factors due to injuries or lower back pain. I am glad that I've been able to help you, brother. I'm glad that I've been able to help you, and I hope that you continue to stay injury-free. Because at the end of the day, if you can keep making progress, even slow progress, without getting hurt, you're going to get monstrously strong. What's up, Jason? What's the time in Texas right now? It's 7:20 here in the UK. Texas has more than one time zone. We're like 4 times the size of the UK. The time where I am right now in Houston, it is 12:22 in the afternoon. So it's just afternoon. Are hard gainers just not able to absorb their food as well, or do they just not eat enough? Haven't been a hard gainer since I've gone through puberty. No, they absorb food fine. Hard gainers usually are people who struggle with appetite. They're just not hungry. I find that it correlates, particularly with people who take certain medications like ADHD meds, anyone who's had a history of drug abuse, like anyone who's formerly been an addict, those people tend to be hard gainers. So usually that, but ADHD meds tend to be heavily correlated with people being hard gainers in my experience as a coach. So it's usually some sort of drugs have impacted their appetite, because in America, no one struggles to gain weight for normal reasons. We have so much junk food. Anybody could get fat easily unless there's something preventing it. That's type 1 hard gainers. Type 2 hard gainers have an eating disorder due to being obsessed with being lean, and therefore they're scared to eat anything but chicken, rice, and broccoli. And then they're hard gainers because they won't eat calorically dense food. Okay, so that is then a mental hard gainer. So you've got to work through that. But the former is usually physical. And again, I find it heavily correlates with a history of drug use or certain prescription drugs. Like I found that to be an enormous correlation, like 80% of my hard gainer clients. Thoughts on undulating periodization, particularly doing a full body split? I'm not a fan. I like concurrent style training. I think it works better. Any advice to get from a 405 squat to a 500 squat? You're going to have to get bigger, and you're going to have to bring up your quads, glutes, and adductors. I don't answer theoretical questions, Leroy. I've been considering doing vlogs on your channel. Jay, we might work you in. I've got a bunch of new people working in vlogs, but we can talk about it in Messenger later. If you want to start doing the vlogs also, I can probably work you into the rotation, because your trainings come along really well. Like you're PRing on a weekly basis. Like your gains are coming crazy fast. So that might be fun for people to watch, because you're more or less like a late novice. And I mean, you're getting literally like 5% stronger every week. Heroin junkie to lifting junkie, one of my orc warriors. If I am feeling run down and strength is decreasing, but in the middle of 531 on the 3-3 week, should I just deload and how should I return after? Should I come back and do the 531 or start 555? Usually, if my people need to deload because of that, if they're on 531, we restart with a 5-week wave again. Hi, Jason. Have your thoughts changed towards high volume pin lay rows for fixing lagging upper back? If you do them real wide grip, it's fine. Just be aware a lot of my people, if you're doing high volume deadlifting, you can't do that. You have to do something that unloads the spine. But I like the wide grip pull-ups for that same purpose. Kind of new to your channel. Seems like you just do YouTube for fun. Seems like coaching is your main thing. Kingslayer, it is. My channel used to make a lot of money when I used to do current events. But I drifted more into full-time coaching, and my coaching actually at this point makes a lot more than my YouTube ever did. So to me, YouTube is just fun. It's advertising for my channel. It's helping people. It's just documenting what I do. It makes money, but it's not like it makes a six-figure income or anything. It's just nice extra money on the side. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy documenting everything I do. And it grows my coaching business. But yeah, the coaching, I spend way more time coaching. It is by far my largest income stream. So it's really my job at this point, and it's really my focus. And you'll notice a lot of my channel revolves around the coaching too. So yeah, that's why I've gone over to mostly client vlogs, because coaching is what I do. So the client vlogs and my own training vlogs kind of make sense. I'm going to start winding this down in a minute. One of my orc warriors goes, I've been told so many times that I'm going to get fat because when I'm 30, because of how much I eat. In reality, if I ate as much as they said, I wouldn't be small. Tired of people saying I eat a lot when I don't. Well, Ziller, tell those people to eat a dick. When someone harasses you about what you eat as a lifter and an athletic person, when they say that and they say things like that, you look them in the eyes and you say, you eat a bag of fucking dicks. And make sure that you stare them in the eyes when you say it. Just say, eat a fucking dick. And they'll quit. That'll end it. One of my orc warriors just came back from the gym and the session went super shitty. It felt like I lost 40 pounds on my squat. In one evening, though, I'm cutting, though. Luke, that's because you're cutting, man. You need to get your fatigue management under control. You need to figure out what's going on with your volume, your sleep, your calories. When you're cutting, you've got to watch that recovery. Okay, recovery is everything as it is, but when you're in a calorie deficit, you really have to pay attention to that stuff, right? Something's wrong with your fatigue management. You're either doing too much training, your calorie deficit's too big, you're not getting enough sleep, right? You've got to sort it out. You got to find balance there. All right, guys, this has been over an hour and a half. I'm going to go ahead and wind this down. So I hope it's been informative. I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys next time.